Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. Now, we're just going to go ahead and take a quick technical analysis look at Atom. Okay, so we're looking at Atom, of course, and the whole point is to ensure that you have, learn a little bit of best practice, obviously understand more along the way, and maybe leave with a good entry point for potential here today, right? So that's kind of the purpose there. No real fundamentals. You have some insight on that. Feel free to include that in the description below. But for lack of better terms, we're just going to take a look at that. And before we do, I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research. And just note also that I have a link in the description below for my Telegram community if you'd like to get engaged and learn as much as you can. Fantastic group of folks there. There's $25 in Bitcoin as well from Voyager application, link in the description below. And also a link to my Patreon account if you'd like to show your support. And just know I will have a premium Patreon account before month end for my signal group, right? So I can give you some good signals, 3 to 5 signals per week that just helps you find a good entry point if you don't have the time to dedicate, day in and day out to find these entry points, right? So that's kind of the point there for that. So be on the lookout for that. That's coming soon. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and check it out. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Atom. And before we do, we always look at the, Bitcoin and Ethereum first. So if you're new to the channel, we just kind of look at that to get a baseline of the market so we can make an informed decision, right? Because you can't just jump in willy-nilly without knowing what Bitcoin's doing. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that here soon. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin. And let's see here. So I've got a little price target here going. I can go ahead and get rid of that. And generally what we're looking at here is the 4-hour chart. So for Bitcoin, I always look at the 4-hour chart first, just kind of get an idea of what's going on. Because the 4-hour chart is nice because of the fact that the moving averages are the most effective. So I use the 200-day moving average here and the 50-day moving average here. And if you're new to the channel too, you just click on indicators. You can go and add them in here and search for those. But that's the moving average that I use, the 200 and the 50. Now the 200-day moving average is this purple line here. As we can see, the price action is still above. So look at that, it worked as a nice little support. And what's great is we got the 50-day moving average coming up here as well, and that should drive the price upwards. So this is referred to as a golden cross when essentially the 50-day moving average intersects with the 200 in an upward fashion, and it effectively causes the price to move along with both averages. So that's the goal, that's the hope. So we may actually see 42,000 get tested soon based on that sentiment alone. It's a great, great sign. But big picture here, we got 30,000 for the actual support level, right? That was our major support. We have a secondary support right around 32, and then a major resistance at 42,000, and also right around 41. That's been tested a good 3 or 4 times in the past, few weeks, right? So just keep that in mind. But all in all, Bitcoin's on the up and up. Even though we had a slight sell-off recently, it proved that 200-day moving average is a support level. That's a great sign. All right, so that is Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum. Now, not much can be said here with Ethereum. Unfortunately, it's kind of it's mimicking Bitcoin to an extent, but also not really performing extremely well. Oftentimes, Ethereum is the go-to when Bitcoin does poorly, and unfortunately, we haven't seen that in the past few weeks with the complete indecision in the market. I'm sure those who would normally go over to Ethereum are transitioning to other coins, the Matics, the ADAs, and just kind of figuring something else out instead of actually trying to just fall right back into Ethereum. So that's my guess. Of course, hard to say specifically if that is the case, but generally that's kind of what we're looking at here. And as you can tell, price action somewhere around 2,400 at this point. We lost the 50-day moving average as a support, and we still got a lot of room for growth here for Ethereum. Now for Atom. So what we always do is we look at the 1-day chart first to kind of see what's going on, and then work our way down. Okay, so 1-day chart, just note the price is still below the 50 and the 200-day moving average. This is neither good nor bad at this point because the fact that we've had this consolidation period for some time since the 18th of May, which was the, for lack of better terms, the China candle when Bitcoin pulled out of the banking industry with, in China essentially, or China pulled Bitcoin from their banks, and that effectively caused the largest decrease we've seen in some time. So that pretty much just means that we're doing normal here for Atom. I don't see anything out of the ordinary here, but good news is the price is moving up. Similar to Bitcoin, but also doing better than Bitcoin as well. So I like that overall here. The the daily increase is looking good, and likely we'll see that this continue if Bitcoin can come up closer to 42,000. If Bitcoin breaks 42,000, we will see this pass the 200-day moving average and test the 50 probably here in the near future. Okay, just note that there's looks like a pretty strong resistance level at about 17. What is it? Let's just say 1720. You can see it's been tested multiple times in the past too. So we'll just go ahead and mark that here really quick. And also, of course, right around 1120 appears to be another. So just, kind of for future reference there, just we have something to consider if the price does come down or up. Obviously, I do think in the next couple weeks we will see Atom test 1720. Okay, so I think we're looking pretty good there. Now let's look at the 4-hour chart to kind of see what's going on here. First of all, RSI is a little overextended, but not bad. It's still under 70, so not a problem whatsoever. We're still looking very good there. The thing I like, though, is that the price is working well with the 50. The 50-day moving average is essentially holding the price action up. And if I didn't mention this earlier, the 50-day moving average is one of the most impactful, as well as the 200 charts to use, or indicators on a chart rather, specifically the 4-hour chart, because the industry leaders and the whales, they all use this time frame as well as these indicators. So it's important to get on board with them. That's the main reason why I use this, because instead of trying to fight the current, right, we're just going to roll along with them. So if we can identify when they have control of the market, we can essentially be in control and sell our position before they sell theirs, or get in after they start their position, right? So either way, that's why I use those indicators, but just note that the 200 will potentially be tested soon, so we just want to be mindful of that. But the fact that the price is holding over the 50 is a very good sign. So I do like the price action here so far for Atom. And let's go ahead and look at the 1-hour chart. So as we can see, we've had two really strong 1-hour candles, and as you can see this candle right here, just before it spiked up, you see how it kind of tried to drive itself down, and then it closed right there. Basically, it closed the same place that it opened. That's a sign of a reversal. So in other words, when we see that happen, that means that the trend will continue upwards in that sense, because that bearish sentiment, basically that hour's worth of bearish quality, was rejected and turned around, so to speak. So anytime you see a candle like that, I think it's referred to as a dragonfly. That essentially tells us that there's going to be a shift in momentum and it's going to continue upwards. And the inverse would be like a gravestone. If the bar is on the bottom, that means we're going to see it kind of trend downwards. So anyways, I pulled this up, the 1-hour chart, because I want to look at the Ishimoku, and this tells us that we're definitely in bull town right now. In other words, anytime the price comes up above, oops, that was the wrong guy there. Anytime the price comes up above the cloud, that's this this obvious green/red coloring in the background, that's the Ishimoku cloud, that essentially tells us it's considered bullish, right? Anytime the price is over, it's considered bullish. When it's within, you do not take an investment, you do not make an investment rather, and when it's below, just like this, when it crosses below, it stays below for some time. So it's pretty rudimentary, so to speak, the concept behind it, but it works very well and it's very effective. So if you're going to use that, the 1-hour chart is the best time frame to use it on, because of the fact that it carries the most weight. It's the perfect average, so to speak, for that. Because me personally, I love the 4-hour chart, but I do feel like Ishimoku works better on the 1-hour chart. All right, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. So we can just disable that. Let's go ahead and go down to the 15, and we're just going to go and use my fancy little EMA VWAP notification here, and I'll explain this here for you as well in regard to what this does, because I've actually got a really awesome associate that is helping me create indicators that are actually give signals based on things that I like to look for. I'll explain what I mean by that here in a moment, but if you're new to the channel, we've got the red line here, that's the EMA line, that's the exponential moving average. I use the 15, EMA 15, so you can add that to your chart if you'd like. And what that is, that's basically just a blended average of the 9 and the 20. Those are default in most charts, so just keep that in mind. Instead of 2, I like to just have 1, and it makes a lot more sense for me personally. So just want to note that that is the red line here, and as you can tell, the price action being over the red line, we're seeing pretty significant bullish sentiment because of the fact that it's staying over that line. Furthermore, we have this blue line here, that is the volume weighted average price. So again, if you're new to the channel, the VWAP is essentially just a line that tells us where the price action should be. In other words, kind of an average based on the volume. So it takes the volume the last 24 hours, expresses it as a price. And as we can see right here, we're looking at about $14 and some change, just a little bit over 14 for where the VWAP is. And above here, if you see, the price is about 14.28. So it's not a strong deviation from that. So in other words, we're in good shape there, that the price didn't, even though it jumped up pretty high, pretty fast here, we still shouldn't see or experience a significant retracement. Because for one, we saw the big picture on the 1-day chart, the price actions are very low. The average true range should be much higher. Also, simple fact of the matter is the price is over VWAP and EMA. So until it comes down and tests either of those two lines, we can assume it's still bullish. Okay, so let me just go ahead and give you an example of confirmation, and what would be a good example of how to take entry in this climate, because you do want to be cautious not to jump right in when the price has increased at this point. And as we can see by these purple indicators here, we are over RSI. So with the price being over 70 on the RSI, that tells us that it's overbought. Now, it doesn't mean we want to sell or exit our positions, but commonly I like to sell or trim my position when the RSI comes back down under 70. So this would be a good consideration for a sell signal, again, depending on what your overall goal is. If you'd got in down here and you're doing a day trade, fantastic. Get out, take your profit, call it a day. But if you're swing trading more long-term and or I would say hodling for the most part, which majority of my viewers do, then you might want to consider an alternative method. But what I'm getting at here is that the price action, even though it is extended higher than it should be, it was driven down for a while. And as we saw on the 1-day chart, I mean, look how low this is. It's in a channel, yes, but the average true range should be somewhere between 17 and 25, right? So just keep that in mind when you're making an investment here. I do feel like Atom has a lot of good potential, really good fundamentals. We don't cover that here, but there are good fundamentals here for this one. So just be mindful of that. And in regard to just say taking good entry, I like to give examples of what that might look like. So if you are new to the channel, I like to educate on best practice, and best practice for this is essentially to wait for the VWAP line to be the price to be over VWAP, right? So that blue line there, the price has to be above that in order to comfortably take entry from me. That's confirmation number one that I need. So as we can tell, we don't take entry down here, but as soon as the price comes above VWAP, that's kind of okay, great, it looks good. That's a good indication of a buy signal. Furthermore, you want to have confirmation as well in regard to the EMA line. The price should also be over EMA. So as you can kind of see here, let's scroll in a little bit. Price is over EMA and VWAP right here. Okay, so as soon as it crosses this plane, it's essentially over. Now, oftentimes I don't try to take entry as soon as it crosses that plane. Some people would probably disagree with me because I might lose out on some profits. But if you see this little green, this little yellow indicator here, that pretty much tells me, because that's built into my notification, and that really tells me that this is a second solid green bar, second 15-minute solid green bar that essentially is that confirmation I need. So I would normally take entry right around here. That's normally my entry point. Okay. Now, a lot of people will be like, oh, why didn't you take it down here? Well, that's not full confirmation for me. I like to see 30 minutes worth of confirmation. So if you wait 2 solid green bars, that kind of gives that to you. Again, it's not a guarantee, but that is telling us the bulls are in control and they're moving in the right direction. So what you want to look at secondary to that is how the price bounces off the EMA line. You see over here, the yellow lines are telling us the price is still over EMA, right? So the bottom line is when the price comes up, yes, it goes sideways for a little while. It holds the EMA line and doesn't lose. In other words, we still have confirmation above EMA and VWAP, and the price continues upwards from there. Now, you could have sold right here as soon as the RSI comes up over 70. That's this purple little carrot, so to speak, up top, the little arrow telling us that. But had you held on and rode it out, you would have got a lot more profit out of it. So again, it's hard to say specifically what will happen, but to me, something like this would be wonderful. I'd love a 3.5% trade. Okay, because again, that will likely grow my wallet by 1/2 to 1 full percent per day, and that's ultimately what I'm looking for. So if you can grow your wallet by 1% per day, you're going to be very good in not too long a time, right? I talk about this all the time, but compounding interest is a 7th wonder of the world, or 8th wonder. I forget which wonder it is, but probably the 8th, because I think there are 7 wonders. But the fact of the matter is that when you invest money, I like to give this example here. For example, so say you start with $5,000, you grow your portfolio by 1% your first day. That's $5,050, and then you continue that on and grow 1% every single day, after what, a full year, you'll get somewhere in the range of like, it's like 200 and some odd $1,000. It's pretty crazy how much you would earn if you just grow your portfolio by 1% per day. Now, again, that's a lofty ask, right? It's not easy to do that, but with good risk management, good risk tolerance, and celebrating the 3% wins, 3.5% wins every day is a good thing. That's what you want to shoot for. Again, you're not all day traders. I get that. You can achieve this with swing trading, just not as quickly, you could say. There are larger gains you can get with swing trading too, don't get me wrong. But you want to be careful with your risk tolerance and make sure you're not losing as much as you're gaining. Okay. I personally shoot for a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio. So every day, I'm comfortable with losing 1%, and I try to strive for 2 to 3% gains. Okay. So that 3% would be perfect for me. That would be a wonderful day, and it would have taken only about 2 to 2.5 hours to get there. Yes, you could have doubled your profit had you waited another extra hour and a half. But keep this in mind, when the price comes down and drops below EMA, that can be a warning signal. It can be a warning sign. The thing and the reason why it's not, though, is the fact that you're still over VWAP. But again, do you want to jeopardize your gains, or do you want to risk that and double your gains, right? It's like that double or nothing type of thing we used to grow up saying when we played basketball. You kind of have those things where you gotta evaluate that. Are you comfortable with potentially losing all your profit, or are you going to take profits when you have them? I prefer to take profits when I have them because I've been greedy in the past. I've gotten burned many times, and with this volatile market, you never truly know. So either way, something to consider. But that is my insight here, so just take that into consideration. A lot of times also too, just to note, I will usually look at the 1-minute chart to see where the price action is at. Same rule applies though, okay? Price should be over EMA and VWAP in order to take entry. So right now it's kind of doing its consolidation thing. It's jumping above and below. So it can be hard to identify a good entry point. So in situations like this, you got to ask yourself, what kind of trading am I doing? Am I doing a short-term swing trade, just say 24 to 72 hours? Then perhaps you want to hold on and see what happens. Set a stop loss at 1 or 2% at your risk tolerance. If you're doing a quick day trade like I'd mentioned, then you might want to consider waiting for the price to be over EMA and or to test the VWAP line and see what happens. But if you're a long-term hodler, I can tell you right now, $14 is a bargain, because 17 to 25 should be the range for this coin. So I hope you found benefit from this. If you do, please consider subscribing. If you don't, that's okay too. But just note that I do live streams on the weekends, and I have a signal group that I'm creating. I will have that released before month end to ensure that traders like yourself, perhaps those that are more casual, don't have time to look at this all day long. I'll be able to give you 3 to 5 comfortable, realistic signals per week, and hopefully you can utilize good risk tolerance and risk management. I'll have that built in as well. So thanks again for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.